Have you ever felt unstoppable in your ambition, certain that your talent, your strategy, or your intelligence should be enough to make you successful in trading, but somehow the results never match your expectations? You're not alone. The truth is, ambition is like fuel. It can start the engine, but it cannot steer the vehicle. In trading, what separates the dreamers from the consistent winners is not knowledge, not insight, not even a brilliant strategy. It's the simple, disciplined act of following rules. Every trade, every decision, every moment in the market is an opportunity to either act according to a plan or surrender to emotion. Most ambitious traders know the rules, they can recite them, they understand them. But when fear, hope, or frustration enters the mind, those rules are often abandoned. This is where ambition without discipline crashes. The market doesn't reward intentions, it rewards execution. And execution requires a mindset where consistency is more important than ego, patience outweighs impulsiveness, and following the rules becomes non-negotiable. In this speech, we're going to explore why ambition alone is never enough, why emotions will always test your discipline, and how mastering the art of rule following can transform not only your trading results, but your entire approach to risk, opportunity, and growth. If you're ready to stop sabotaging your potential and start building real trading consistency, it starts with one thing: committing to your rules every time, no matter what. Ambition is a beautiful thing. It fuels our desire. It sets our sights on goals that feel almost impossible, and it gives us the energy to take action when others might hesitate. Ambition is what drives a trader to wake up early, study charts late into the night, and imagine a life transformed by the success that seems just within reach. But ambition, for all its brilliance, is not enough. Ambition without discipline is like a car with a powerful engine but no steering wheel. It might roar to life and move fast for a moment, but without direction, it will crash or wander endlessly in circles. The difference between ambition and results is discipline, and in trading, that difference is everything. The first thing to understand is that trading is not a test of intelligence or insight. It is a test of discipline. You can know all the patterns, understand every economic indicator, and even predict outcomes with extraordinary precision, but if you cannot consistently follow your rules, your ambition will be wasted. The market does not reward cleverness or audacity, it rewards consistency. Every trade you take is an opportunity to either act according to your plan or surrender to impulse. Discipline is what allows you to act according to your plan, even when your emotions are screaming at you to do something else. It is the bridge that connects your vision of success with the reality of your performance. Most traders fail not because they are unambitious, but because they lack this bridge. They have strategies, they have goals, they have the desire to succeed, but when fear appears after a loss, when hope tempts them to chase a trade, or when frustration clouds their judgment, their rules are abandoned. Discipline is not a trait you are born with. It is a skill you develop through practice, through repetition, and through the willingness to face your emotional weaknesses. It is cultivated over time by making the conscious choice to act in alignment with your plan, even when it feels uncomfortable or counterintuitive. Consider what it truly means to be disciplined in trading. Discipline is not simply following a checklist or executing trades mechanically. True discipline is the internal alignment between your knowledge, your plan, and your emotions. It is the ability to remain calm in the face of uncertainty, to stick to your strategy when the market tempts you to break it, and to accept that losses are part of the process. Without this alignment, ambition becomes reckless, intelligence becomes arrogance, and potential is wasted. The challenge, of course, is that discipline requires patience, and patience is not always natural for the ambitious mind. Ambition drives us to want results now. It whispers that we are ready for success, that we deserve it, and that the next trade, the next move, or the next decision should bring instant gratification. But trading is a long-term game. Success is not built in a single moment of brilliance. It is built in the repeated, disciplined actions that compound over time. Discipline allows you to delay gratification, to resist the temptation to overtrade, and to trust that your rules, applied consistently, will lead to the results you desire. Without discipline, ambition becomes a series of emotional reactions, a roller coaster of hope and fear that produces inconsistent outcomes at best. Another crucial aspect of discipline is its role in controlling emotional interference. Emotions are the natural response to risk, uncertainty, and the unknown. They are powerful forces that can override rational thinking and sabotage even the most intelligent plans. Fear can make you exit a winning trade too early. Greed can make you enter trades that are not in your plan. Frustration can make you deviate from your strategy altogether. Discipline is the tool that allows you to create a buffer between emotion and action. It is the mechanism that says, I will follow my plan, no matter how I feel in this moment. Ambition, without this buffer, is fragile. It is easily shattered by the highs and lows of the market. Discipline is also a matter of commitment. It is the willingness to show up every day, to review your performance honestly, and to take responsibility for your results. Ambition can be loud and exciting, but it is passive without the consistent effort that discipline requires. You cannot rely on bursts of inspiration to build lasting results. You cannot rely on willpower alone to overcome the pull of emotions. Discipline is developed through systems, routines, and habits that enforce your rules even when your motivation falters. It is the silent work done behind the scenes that transforms potential into performance. One of the most powerful insights about discipline is that it is inherently liberating. At first, the idea of strict adherence to rules may feel restrictive. You may feel that rules limit your freedom or your ability to seize opportunities. But the truth is the opposite. Discipline frees you from the tyranny of emotion. It frees you from second-guessing, from self-doubt, from the paralysis that comes from overanalyzing every decision. When you have discipline, you no longer chase the market, you participate in it with clarity and purpose. You no longer react impulsively, you act intentionally. This is the bridge between ambition and results, the structure that allows your desire to succeed to manifest consistently in the real world. Building discipline is a process, not an event. It requires daily practice, reflection, and accountability. It begins with the small choices, following your entry rules, respecting your risk parameters, accepting losses without complaint, and reviewing your trades honestly. These small acts, repeated over time, strengthen your ability to act in alignment with your plan. As your discipline grows, your ambition is no longer wasted on impulse, it is channeled into consistent action. You begin to see that results are not random or based on luck. They are the natural outcome of your choices. It is also essential to understand that discipline is not about perfection. No trader will follow every rule flawlessly. Mistakes will happen, emotions will occasionally override reason, and losses will occur. Discipline is about returning to your plan after each deviation, learning from errors without judgment, and maintaining your commitment to consistency. True discipline is resilient. It is not deterred by setbacks, but rather strengthened by them. Each time you choose to follow your rules despite discomfort, your bridge between ambition and results becomes stronger, more reliable, and more effective. Finally, discipline transforms the way you experience the market. Without it, every trade is a source of anxiety, frustration, or regret. With it, every trade becomes an opportunity to practice mastery, to reinforce your process, and to move closer to your goals. Discipline converts ambition into tangible outcomes. It allows you to measure success not by luck or emotion, but by the steady accumulation of disciplined choices. It turns potential into reality, chaos into order, and uncertainty into confidence. In the end, ambition is the spark that ignites the journey, but discipline is the fuel that carries you across the finish line. Ambition without discipline is wasted energy. It is a promise unfulfilled, a vision unrealized. Discipline, on the other hand, transforms desire into action, knowledge into execution, and potential into results. It is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Every trader who has achieved consistent success understands this truth. They know that intelligence, strategy, and insight can only take you so far. It is the unwavering commitment to rules, the relentless practice of process, and the courage to act despite fear that turns ambition into achievement. So, if you are ambitious, if you have the desire to succeed, the dreams to transform your life, remember this. Ambition is the spark, but discipline is the bridge. Build that bridge, cross it consistently, and you will find that your results are no longer a matter of chance. They are a matter of choice. Trading is a mental game far more than it is a mechanical one. Every chart, every indicator, every statistic in the world will never compensate for the human mind's tendency to interfere with itself. The single greatest obstacle between a trader and consistent success is not the market, not the lack of strategy, and not even the absence of knowledge. It is the power of emotions to override reason, to distort perception, and to sabotage rule-based action. Emotions, in essence, are the enemy of disciplined execution, and understanding this truth is the key to unlocking real results in trading. Consider the way emotions operate. They are designed to protect us, to ensure survival, to respond instantly to perceived threats. Fear warns us of danger, hope pushes us toward reward, greed excites us with possibility, frustration signals loss or failure. These emotions are natural, powerful, and unavoidable. They arise without asking for permission. In life, they often serve us well. In trading, they do not. The market does not reward emotion. The market does not care if you are afraid or hopeful. The market only responds to actions, and your actions, when driven by emotion rather than process, are inconsistent, impulsive, and self-defeating. Most traders believe they can manage their emotions. They think that by studying psychology books, meditating, or taking deep breaths, they can prevent emotions from influencing decisions. But this is a misunderstanding. Emotions cannot be removed from the equation. They are part of being human. What can be done, however, is learning to act in spite of emotion, to follow your rules even when your feelings scream that you should do otherwise. True mastery comes not from emotionless trading, but from rule-based action in the presence of emotion. Fear is the most obvious and most destructive emotion in trading. Fear appears in countless forms: fear of losing money, fear of missing an opportunity, fear of being wrong, fear of being judged, even fear of success. It is subtle, insidious, and powerful because it masquerades as caution, as rationality, as carefulness. When fear enters your mind, it triggers behavior that is reactive rather than intentional. You hesitate when you should act, exit trades prematurely, or avoid opportunities that fit your plan. Each of these behaviors, while understandable, breaks the consistency of rule-based action. Fear creates a gap between knowledge and execution, a gap where ambition goes to die. Hope, on the other hand, is just as dangerous, though it feels pleasant. Hope convinces us to stay in trades too long, to deviate from risk rules, or to ignore warning signs in the market. It distorts perception by focusing on what could happen instead of what is happening. Hope tempts us to act in contradiction to our own rules, because the emotional reward of imagining a favorable outcome feels more compelling than the disciplined act of following a plan. In this way, hope and fear are two sides of the same coin. They both pull traders away from consistency. Greed amplifies these tendencies. It is the desire for more than what is planned, the compulsion to push beyond limits, for belief that opportunity is infinite, and that rules are suggestions rather than boundaries. Greed can turn a small advantage into a catastrophic loss, simply because it encourages behavior that ignores the principles of risk management and disciplined execution. It is an emotion that thrives on impulsivity and disregards process. And when combined with fear or hope, it becomes almost irresistible, causing even experienced traders to break rules they have followed for years. Frustration and anger are equally potent enemies of rule-based action. After a series of losses, a trader may feel compelled to win back money immediately, abandoning strategies and increasing risk. These emotions are driven by attachment, by a desire to control outcomes that are inherently uncertain. They distort judgment, magnify perceived urgency, and push traders to react to the market rather than participate in it intentionally. The paradox is that the more a trader resists the natural fluctuations of the market, the more intense these emotions become, and the more likely they are to interfere with rule-following behavior. Understanding that emotions are unavoidable is the first step toward mastery. Accepting them does not mean surrendering to them. It means recognizing that emotions are signals, not commands. They are information about your internal state, not instructions for action. The disciplined trader does not act on fear, hope, greed, or frustration. The disciplined trader acts according to rules, applying process consistently, regardless of emotional intensity. This is the essence of acting in spite of emotion, and it is what separates ambitious dreamers from consistent performers. Building this capacity requires training. Just as muscles grow stronger through resistance, the ability to act despite emotion grows through deliberate practice. Start small, follow your rules for a single trade, regardless of how tempting it may be to break them. Observe the emotions that arise, and notice the discomfort that comes with restraint. Then expand this practice to every decision, every day, every trade. Over time, the mind begins to accept that emotions do not have ultimate authority over action. Discipline becomes habitual, and the gap between intention and execution closes. Another critical insight is that emotional interference is amplified by uncertainty. When the outcome is unknown, the mind naturally fills the gap with expectation, fear, hope, and anxiety. This is exactly why following Rule S is so vital. Rules provide structure, a clear path for action even in the face of uncertainty. They remove the ambiguity that feeds emotional interference. If you have rules and follow them consistently, the intensity of emotion does not disappear, but your behavior is no longer hostage to it. You can participate fully in the market without being controlled by the feelings it generates. It is also important to recognize that acting in accordance with rules does not guarantee short-term success, and this is where many traders struggle. Emotions arise because humans are wired to equate immediate outcomes with personal competence. When a trade does not produce the desired result, fear and frustration surge. But rule-based action is not about short-term validation. It is about long-term consistency. Success in trading is the accumulation of disciplined actions over time, not the outcome of any single trade. This distinction is fundamental. Emotion reacts to outcomes, rules react to conditions. When you follow rules consistently, you align with probabilities rather than outcomes, and emotional interference diminishes. The relationship between discipline and emotion can be understood as a feedback loop. When a trader acts emotionally, outcomes are inconsistent, confidence erodes, and emotions intensify. When a trader acts according to rules, outcomes become more predictable, confidence grows, and emotions are less likely to dominate decisions. The process of following rules is itself a form of emotional mastery. It is a practical, tangible way to navigate the chaos of the market without surrendering to fear or hope. Over time, this becomes a mindset, a mental environment where emotions are acknowledged but never allowed to dictate behavior. It is worth noting that acting in spite of emotion does not mean suppressing feelings or pretending they do not exist. It means OBS, observing them, understanding them, and then choosing action based on principles rather than impulse. A trader might feel fear intensely during a trade, but the disciplined response is to follow the plan. A trader might feel hope for a quick reversal, but the disciplined response is to stay aligned with risk rules. Emotions are powerful, but they are not infallible guides. The disciplined trader recognizes that the market's behavior is the only true signal, emotions are secondary, and adherence to rules is paramount. Ultimately, mastery in trading is less about predicting markets and more about managing yourself. The market will always be unpredictable. You cannot control outcomes and you cannot eliminate emotional responses. But you can control your actions. You can create a framework, a set of rules, and a process that ensures your decisions are deliberate, disciplined, and consistent. By doing so, you neutralize the enemy of rule-based action, the mind's emotional reactions. You build a bridge between knowledge and execution, ambition and results, potential and performance. The traders who achieve lasting success are not those who feel no fear, no hope, no greed, or no frustration. They are the traders who act according to rules despite these emotions. They have trained their minds to respond to the market with clarity rather than reactivity. They have accepted that emotions are part of the process, but they have refused to allow them to dictate behavior. This is the essence of professional trading, the ability to consistently apply your edge in an emotional environment without being compromised by the very feelings that are inevitable. If you are ambitious, if you have a plan, if you have studied, practiced, and prepared, remember this: your biggest obstacle is not the market, not your knowledge, not even luck. Your biggest obstacle is your own emotional interference. Fear, hope, greed, frustration, these are natural, but they are not commands. They are signals, information to observe but not act upon. Rule-based action is the antidote. Discipline is the bridge. And the ability to act according to rules despite emotion is what transforms ambition into real, measurable results. Every time you take a trade, every time you make a decision, you are faced with a choice. Let your emotions dictate your action, or follow your rules and trust the process. The first leads to inconsistency, regret, and lost potential. The second leads to mastery, confidence, and long-term success. The difference between these paths is the understanding that emotions are not your friends in trading, they are your adversaries. But like any adversary, they can be managed, neutralized, and even leveraged to reinforce discipline. Acting in spite of emotion is not just a skill, it is the foundation of every successful trader's life. Most people assume that success in trading comes from intelligence, insight, or being the cleverest person in the room. They believe that if they can read the markets better, analyze charts more thoroughly, or predict economic shifts with greater accuracy, they will consistently outperform others. But this assumption is wrong. Intelligence and insight can provide an edge, they can guide decisions and illuminate possibilities, but they cannot replace the fundamental principle that governs long-term success in trading: consistency. Without consistency, intelligence becomes wasted potential, and insight becomes fleeting opportunity. Consistency is the engine that converts skill into results. It is the practice of applying rules, strategies, and processes repeatedly over time without deviation, regardless of emotions or short-term outcomes. A trader can have brilliant ideas, can foresee patterns before anyone else, can have a near-perf. CT understanding of probability, but if they cannot act consistently, none of this intelligence matters. The market does not reward brilliance in isolation, it rewards actions that are repeatedly executed with discipline. Every successful trader understands that consistency is not a habit. It is a mindset, a commitment, and a framework for turning potential into reality. The problem is that intelligence and insight are seductive. They create the illusion of control. A trader who believes they are smarter than the market may rely on clever guesses, anticipate patterns that may never appear, and feel justified in bending or breaking rules. This is the trap of overconfidence, believing that insight alone can overcome the chaos of the market. But markets are probabilistic, not deterministic. No amount of cleverness can guarantee the outcome of a trade. Only consistency in applying well-defined principles creates a measurable edge. Intelligence without action, without repetition, without adherence to rules, is nothing more than a thought experiment. Consistency is often misunderstood as a passive, boring, or rigid requirement. People imagine that being consistent means always doing the same thing, always following the same methods, without adaptation. But true consistency is dynamic. It is the disciplined application of judgment within a structured framework. It is not about predicting every market move correctly. It is about responding to conditions in a way that aligns with your rules again and again until the results naturally emerge. Intelligence provides the what and the why of a decision. Consistency provides the how and the when that transform knowledge into performance. One of the most compelling truths about consistency is that it compounds over time. Just as a small daily savings accumulate into a substantial nest egg, small disciplined actions in trad accumulate into real results. Entering trades according to rules, managing risk consistently, accepting losses without emotional interference, and reviewing your performance systematically. These are the seemingly small acts that, over months and years, create a profound advantage. Intelligence may allow you to identify opportunities, but consistency allows you to exploit them reliably. Insight without repetition is like planting seeds without watering them. It does not grow into harvest. Consistency also builds confidence. The trader who applies rules faithfully regardless of short-term results develops a trust in their process. This trust is critical because trading is inherently uncertain. Markets are unpredictable, outcomes are probabilistic, and randomness is constant. Without consistency, confidence fluctuates wildly with each win or loss. With consistency, confidence becomes rooted in process rather than outcome. A consistent trader knows that following rules, managing risk, and executing strategy will, over time, produce positive results. Intelligence may inform decisions, but confidence grounded in consistency is what allows a trader to act decisively when opportunities arise. Emotional stability is another byproduct of consistency. Inconsistent action creates emotional turbulence. Wins feel euphoric, losses feel devastating. Each trade becomes a roller coaster of hope, fear, and frustration. But a trader who applies rules consistently experiences neither the extremes of elation nor the depths of despair. Emotional response becomes proportional to the process, not the outcome. Consistency neutralizes the volatility of the mind in the same way it does the volatility of the market. Intelligence and insight alone cannot protect against emotional impulses, but repeated disciplined action can. Over time, a consistent approach trains the mind to stay calm, used and resilient, even in the face of uncertainty. Another reason consistency surpasses intelligence or insight is that it turns probabilistic edges into practical results. In trading, no trade is guaranteed. The smartest prediction can fail, the most informed insight can be wrong. But if you have a process that works 55% of the time and you apply it consistently, that small edge accumulates into significant profits over time. In contrast, a trader who relies on occasional brilliance without discipline may achieve spectacular wins occasionally, but will suffer catastrophic losses because their results are erratic. Consistency converts probabilities into outcomes by ensuring that every edge, however small, is repeatedly applied, until the law of large numbers works in your favor. Intelligence identifies the edge. Consistency exploits it relentlessly. Consistency is also the antidote to impulsivity. Many ambitious traders are highly intelligent. They understand patterns, predict trends, and feel they have superior insight. But their results are undermined by impulsive reactions. A sudden market move triggers fear. A profitable streak triggers greed. Insight alone cannot prevent these reactions. Only consistency, adherence to rules, structured risk management, and process-oriented execution can control impulsivity. It is the mechanism that turns knowledge into habit, emotion into discipline, and potential into performance. Intelligence without consistency is like having a powerful engine without brakes or steering. It may accelerate, but it will eventually crash. It is important to note that consistency does not mean mindless repetition. It is not about blindly following rules without thinking. Instead, consistency is about creating a framework where intelligent decisions are expressed reliably every time. It is about building a process that integrates insight into repeatable action. This requires both discipline and self-awareness. You must be aware of when emotions are threatening to derail your process, and you must be disciplined enough to return to your rules regardless of temporary discomfort. This combination of awareness and discipline is what transforms insight into sustainable results. Over time, consistency shapes not only performance but character. The trader who applies rules diligently becomes patient, methodical, and resilient. They learn to accept that losses are part of the process, that no trade is guaranteed, and that mastery is measured over many repetitions rather than single outcomes. Intelligence and insight may give the trader flashes of opportunity, but consistency builds the mental framework to take advantage of those flashes reliably. In this way, consistency is not just a method, it is the architecture of a successful trader's mind. Consider the contrast between two hypothetical traders. One relies on brilliance and insight but acts inconsistently, driven by impulse and emotion. Their wins are dramatic, but their losses are devastating and long-term success is elusive. The other trader may not feel inherently smarter or more insightful, but they follow their rules without fail. They manage risk, execute strategy, and apply their process repeatedly. Over time, the second trader's results compound, their confidence grows, and their emotional stability strengthens. Intelligence and insight are valuable, but without consistency, they are fleeting. With consistency, even modest insight becomes a powerful tool for achieving lasting results. Consistency also reinforces learning. When actions are repeated systematically, feedback becomes meaningful. You can measure what works and what doesn't because deviations are minimized. Inconsistent action creates noise, making it impossible to know whether success or failure is the result of strategy, insight, or chance. Consistency clarifies cause and effect, allowing the trader to refine their methods intelligently. Insight is magnified. When applied consistently, intelligence becomes actionable knowledge rather than abstract potential. Finally, consistency is empowering. When a trader commits to following rules and applying a process reliably, they take control of what is controllable, their actions, their decisions, and their behavior. This creates a sense of agency and reduces the psychological burden of uncertainty. Intelligence and insight may illuminate the path, but consistency carries you forward. It is the bridge between ambition and results, the foundation upon which all sustainable success is built. In trading, as in life, the pattern is clear. Knowledge without action is wasted, insight without discipline is fragile, and brilliance without consistency is fleeting. The traders who achieve lasting results are not always the smartest or the most insightful. They are the ones who show up again and again, who follow their rules, who manage risk, and who act with discipline despite uncertainty. Consistency is the great equalizer. It turns average knowledge into above-average results and transforms potential into tangible success. If you are ambitious, if you seek success, remember this. Intelligence and insight are valuable tools, but they are not sufficient. Consistency is the engine that transforms these tools into results. It is the bridge that carries knowledge across the chasm of uncertainty, the mechanism that converts potential into performance, and the principle that ensures ambition is rewarded. Every successful trader understands this truth intuitively. It is not how smart you are, nor how brilliant your insight, that determines your success. It is how consistently you apply what you know day after day, trade after trade. In trading, ambition, intelligence, and insight are only the starting points. What transforms potential into results is the disciplined application of rules, the ability to act despite emotion, and the relentless pursuit of consistency. Every edge, every lesson, every strategy counts only when executed repeatedly and faithfully. Fear, hope, greed, and frustration will test you daily, but mastery lies in following your plan regardless. Consistency bridges ambition and achievement, turning knowledge into performance. Commit to your rules, trust the process, and act with discipline, and you will find that real success is not a matter of chance, but a matter of choice.